John Freeman. I'm the e-marketing specialist for the Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is the building you see behind me, where our offices are housed within the Visitors Center here on the downtown mall. My main priority in my job is all of the internet marketing for the CACVB for short. We market Charlottesville and Albemarle County to the outside world in terms of online, in terms of person-to-person contact, but I'm in charge for the online part of that with our website and also our social media, which is my favorite part of the job, and that's running the Experience Charlottesville Facebook page along with our Twitter account and our Pinterest account. One of our big claims to fame here in the social media marketing world and among destination marketing organizations like our own is October of last year, we ended up being one of the top destinations on Facebook in the entire world. The only destination that beat us was Walt Disney World in terms of engagement. The hook was that at that point we only had about 40,000 fans on our Facebook page, yet we were engaging about 250,000 people in a 1-week span on Facebook. So we had some success with it, and we did it through some unconventional methods. We used heavy imagery, which at that point on Facebook and social media wasn't so prominent. We used engagement tactics and asking for likes, shares. We engaged with users through what we call newsjacking. So during the election season, we were actually inserting ourselves into the discussion about the election. We are a home of 3 presidents. There's no reason we shouldn't be inserting ourselves into the election talk. So it was unconventional. In cases it was risky, but in the end it paid out. More people saw pictures of Charlottesville, more people saw it that maybe didn't have a familiarity with Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and in turn visitation to our website skyrocketed and visitation to Charlottesville and Albemarle County ended up increasing as well. So we knew it was making a difference. Some of the tips that we tell businesses and administrators of social media accounts, they vary. The most important ones are to keep it simple. It's a common phrase that you hear all the time in marketing, but one that's never more true and relevant than in Facebook. Oftentimes you see Facebook posts by marketing companies that are paragraphs long, and the average attention span of an American is somewhere around 9 to 10 seconds, which is shorter than a goldfish. So you only have so much time to capture their attention. So keeping it simple, keeping the content somewhere less than maybe even 140 characters. The less is more approach often works in Facebook, and that transitions to another tip that we have, which is use imagery. Imagery is your message. The medium is the message in this case. It's so much better to show somebody something as opposed to tell them something on social media. Especially when it comes to Facebook, you're fighting for real estate within that news feed, and Facebook will allow you much more space if you choose to use a picture, much more so than if you make a link or a poll question or even just a simple text question. It's social media capitalizing on imagery that can help you. And you look at the downtown mall monument here in Charlottesville, where you see so much scribble on it. And the example we always use is the only way you can ever read anything on it is if somebody draws a picture, and social media is very much the same way, and we encourage our businesses to post social media or pictures on social media. They don't have to be professional pictures either. That's the common misconception, is that people need this Nikon D840 camera that costs $5,000, but truly the camera in your pocket is all you need on social media, because that's what allows you to be on the scene quickly if something happens that you need to share immediately. And on social media, people forgive you for not having the highest quality photos, for not having a touched up photoshopped photo. Instead, they almost reward you for the immediacy of posting a photo off of your cell phone, and they react to something that is immediate, like a cell phone picture. Some other tips that we use on social media, especially for Facebook, would be to stay relevant. It's the most fast updating platform there is. Well, Twitter as well. You've heard on social media where earthquakes happen and they spread 800 miles to the west, but people know that it's coming before the earthquake actually hits. That's how fast it can spread. So social media should be something that is immediate. You don't want to post about something that is months and months and months in advance. It's more advantageous to post about something that's happening right now, or that's happening in the next couple of hours, or something that just happened in the last couple hours, because you want to insert yourself into that discussion, things that are happening immediately. So if an event happens the night before and everybody's talking about it the next day on social media, then you want to capitalize on that and inserting yourself into the discussion. So for us, it's inserting ourselves into the discussion on politics when the election season rolls around, or on the changing of the seasons. Today is hot, tomorrow is going to be cold. It's simple evergreen content like that that can keep you relevant without having to really stretch yourself for content. Another thing that we encourage our businesses is to have fun with it. Oftentimes people get lost a little bit in the marketing talk and the lingo, and their posts become stale because of it. So we encourage people to take ownership of their social media and write down how many likes you have when you start, or how many followers you have, and never forget that feeling when you get another one. When you go from 1 to 2, or from 0 to 1, or from 100,000 to 100,001. It should feel the same every time, because what you've done is recruit somebody that you can talk to on a daily basis. So for me, I always think about Scott Stadium and what that would look like when it's sold out with 63,000 people in it. And our page is thankfully above 63,000. We're actually about 73,000. But to sit there with a microphone at center field with 62,000 people and be able to communicate to them 3 times a day, that's something special, and that never gets old, no matter how many times I have to post a year. So be engaged with your audience and having fun with it, and kind of keeping that beginner spirit, no matter how big your page gets, or no matter how many times you have to post per week. That'll keep it fresh and entertaining for you and for your audience. Advertising on Facebook is interesting because I don't think there's a single platform in the world that knows as much about its audience as Facebook, and that all comes from the users volunteering that information. So on social media, especially on Facebook, you're being tracked, and some people find that a little alarming. Others are all right with it, and everyone gets advertised too. We've dipped into that advertising pool. I feel like I've got one of the easier jobs in social media marketing in terms of marketing Charlottesville and Albemarle County, because there's so much for Facebook users to love, like, share, and comment on when it comes to what our area has. But they've also volunteered so much information about that we can pre-select an audience that we know will most likely follow our page, and that way we pay less per impression, less per click for people liking our page. So if Facebook charges for 1,000 impressions, I'm going to make sure that 1,000 people see the post, and those 1,000 people are already somewhat connected to Charlottesville or have thought of Charlottesville. So when we go into the advertising suite, we look at people who already like our vineyards in our area, or who are already graduates of the University of Virginia, or who like the Blue Ridge Mountains or the Blue Ridge Parkway or the Shenandoah National Park. There's so much that our area has, and it's up to us to find those people. So when it comes to cost per impression and you're presenting it in front of a pre-qualified audience, you're spending very little to reach an audience that is most likely going to do what you want them to do, which is like your page. I don't believe in promoted posts on Facebook. I believe that the engagement is your responsibility. You don't need to pay for the engagement. You need to earn it with quality posts. So our strategy, and one that I would recommend to a lot of businesses, is make sure that you spend your money getting people to like your page, and then you have the ability to talk to them on a daily basis, and that's the most important part. So getting an audience, but then it's your job to make them an engaged audience. You don't need to pay for that. One of the greatest things about Facebook is that it will always reward you for good content. Edge rank is wildly important when it comes to Facebook, and that's a scoring basically of your likes, comments, and shares for a post, and then that edge rank also applies to your page. Almost a score of how relevant your page is, and the more relevant it is, the more people are going to see your post. Facebook's also made some steps to make sure that your posts are seen by more people, or your relevant and engaged with posts are seen by more people. And the way they've done this is within the newsfeed. When you post and that post is getting likes, comments, shares, engagement, and your edge rank is increasing, that post will have an afterlife, maybe above 3 hours or 4 hours, all the way up to 7 hours if somebody hasn't logged on in that amount of time. It will show that post to people that it thinks will engage with it. This is completely opposite to Twitter. They're both waterfall models where the information comes down like a waterfall. On Twitter, people tend to sip from that waterfall. So if you post at 2:30 and somebody is logged on at 2:30, they'll see that post. But if you post at 2:30 and somebody logs on at 3:30, the likelihood is they aren't going to scroll backwards far enough to see that post. Facebook on the other end will present your engaged posts to somebody even if the post came hours ago. It's very interested in becoming the best newspaper in the world. That's what Mark Zuckerberg has said. He wants the most personalized newspaper in the world, and the way its algorithm works is it shows content to people that it thinks those people will interact with. So it's always interested in the user experience and giving people relevant content. It's up to you to provide it, but Facebook's bending over backwards to make sure that if it is relevant, people will see it. Common misconception in social media is you need a command center and 4 people to run a social media account. This is it. This is where the magic happens here in the Charlottesville Visitors Bureau in terms of our Facebook. It was a big moment when I got a second screen. I feel like that really improved our social media a little bit, but there's not a whole lot to it other than a laptop, a cell phone, a couple screens, and some people who really like doing social media. That's all it really takes in social media marketing is having fun with it, having just enough tools to be able to do it consistently and be able to get your message across. But anybody that tells you you need something more than that, I think they're exaggerating.